Today we're going to talk about the different methods in Ableton you can use to layer your drums. Layering drums can be very crucial to get your drums sounding thick and fit well in the mix. Very important to pick the right sounds, obviously, but sometimes they might just be lacking that one thing. So we're going to get into how you can layer drums and different ways you can do it in Ableton. Stay tuned. All right, today we're going to be talking about layering drums in Ableton and some different methods you can do and the pros and cons of each one. First, let's ask the question, why would you want to layer drums? Well, layering drums can help give you a more enhanced drum sound, for example. Let's say you have a clap that's missing some weight. You might want to layer it with something with a little more bottom and then use the common EQ carving technique to carve space and give it what it needs. Another reason why you might want to layer drums is maybe something is lacking or you just need to give it a different tonal characteristic, which is almost basically the same thing. Maybe you just want thickness. I mean, there's lots of ways to go about getting the same thing, but layering your drums and getting your sounds right is going to be key. You're not always going to find that perfect sound. Maybe it just needs one more thing, and that's where the layering can come in. But I do strive to find that perfect sound, and then if I'm lacking something, I might layer. Or if I just want something thicker, I might layer. Lots of possibilities. No rules, no rhyme, no reason. So let's get into examples of layering in Ableton. So right here I have a clap from just a sample pack. Good clap, like it, new disco-ish. Here's another clap. Thick, nice, it's got a little delay. Notice it has a transient and then another initial clap. You could maybe do something like this where you kind of stagger these. Let's play them both together. Without this. And with. So it gives it a nice character, and you know, there they are on top of each other. That's just the one by itself. Look how thin it is now. And this one is kind of lacking some of that sparkle. So together, layering them gives them that thickness and that quality. I would probably carve space because I think it's important to make sure that they're not clashing or creating resonating frequencies. So that's one thing I would do. But we're not here to talk about that. If you're curious about that, you can check out my series on EQ. I talk a lot about carving space in there. I'll leave you a link down below. Now, see, this method right here is the method that I typically use when I'm doing layering. I like to just layer tracks individually. The pro of this is I can put my own effects, I can put my own EQs, but Ableton has many ways of working, and there is some cons that I'm losing out on by doing it this way. I'm not an avid user of the drum rack, but with the drum rack, you can get some cool tools. So first and foremost, if I wanted to, I could drop this in, and let me turn this on. And now I'm playing this on a MIDI keyboard below here, and just boom. And if I wanted to create a layer with this clap, I can do so by creating a group. And when you create a group, you can open this up. And then I could take this clap and drop that in. Now, I could play with the start time. I'm not going to get the same type of, timeline where I can delay it, or I can't use, say, track delay, which I'm very big on. If you're not curious to know more about that and you want to learn, leave me a comment. I'll make a video on Ableton track delay. But I still have layered it, and I can turn them on and off here. I can solo it. You could hot swap mode if you wanted to try different sounds. And that is another way to do it. So if you like using drum racks, the thing for me is then you get everything into one stereo channel. So if you started putting kicks and all your different drums, you do get the benefits of the MIDI editor. Mind you, see here I've programmed a beat, which I'm going to get into in a bit. You do get this benefit. And you could always output those to individual tracks as well if you wanted to set that up. If you're curious to know more about that and want a video, drop me a comment. I'll make an extensive video on Ableton's drum rack. But the purpose of this video is to talk about layering. Now let's get into one of the pros that you can do if you do it this way. So I went ahead and I programmed a very simple and just random beat, and you might be wondering why I programmed the hi-hats like this. As you can see, I programmed some of them on top of each other. So you see here, this is my kick, this is my clap, this is my open hat, and this is my closed hat. And the kick and the clap are layers. See, if I go into the drum rack here, you're going to be able to see that these are groups. So I have 2 kicks, and I did this more just to give you an example. These are not the perfect sounds. And I have 2 claps, and I have an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat. But the reason I stacked those on top of each other is because I want to show you a feature here. Now, if you go down here to this little button right here, you get a little bit more options where you can do things. And let's open this up right here. So you can set up things like MIDI in note, where you can use this to trigger the chain. You can do MIDI out notes, which will trigger the output device in the chain. And there's some very unique things here. I gotta be honest, I don't use a lot of this, but there's a thing here called choke. And what choke will do is it will prevent 2 sounds from playing on top of each other. So what you can actually mimic is the realistic playing of, say, a drummer. So if I turn choke on 1 and 1, these are like channels, I guess you could call them. When you see now that the MIDI is playing, if I turn this one off, it's an open hat. And see, it's playing only one of them. And then so what happens is when this one hits this after this one shuts off. Let me see if we can see that. Let's go to the closed hat. And so you can see, instead of it getting out here, it's going there. So if I didn't have choke on, and you can see it's definitely altering the sound a bit. Notice right there when I have that double, I made this beat to show you these different examples. With choke on, it cleans it up and it actually sounds a little bit more natural. So this is another way that you can layer drums. You really got to experiment with this. I probably need to experiment with this a bit more. You know, I don't use drum rack that much. I'm more of one of those layer up individually. So there's pros and cons to each. There's no right or wrong way of working. You know, you got to find what works for you and stick with it and do what's best. And that doesn't mean you can't use a mixture of both. Thank you for watching this video on layering drums in Ableton. If you have any questions, shoot me a comment down below. My name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering, and if you need help with your mastering, you're in for a free treat because I'm offering all first-time potential clients 1 free stereo mastered sample. Hit the link below in my description. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.